Hello everyone and welcome to the Understanding Behavior live stream. I'm so glad that you could be here with me tonight. Looks like everybody's having a good time in chat. Great to see so many familiar faces here and some new ones as well. How we all doing? Feeling good, feeling good. Tonight we're gonna go over differential reinforcement. Really cool topic. Honestly, I think this is like one of the most important concepts to master down as just kind of like a behavior change technique. Like differential reinforcement is literally like a part of every single interaction that like anybody engages in ever. So I think it's an important one to know, but we're gonna go over the specifics. We're gonna go down the different types of procedures. We're gonna talk about different subtypes. We're going to talk about DRO and why DRO is not actually reinforcement, which is kind of weird. And then we'll talk about DRD, DRL. I think those students get mixed up on those quite a bit. So we'll go ahead and hammer out those differences. But yeah, great to see everybody here tonight. We're gonna get started in just a minute or so. Just want to orient you if you're not familiar with all of our study products at Understanding Behavior. We have some really amazing products that you can access at understandingbehavior.shop. Overall, our reviews are like 4.95 stars on all of our products, so everything is really high quality. We've got our Behavior Beast Slayer course. This is our comprehensive course that goes over everything in the 6th edition task list. Here's just like kind of like a little bit of a sneak peek for that. You can actually access a free trial if you go into the product description. But what's really nice is that a couple like advantages of the Beast Slayer course over some other courses is that the Beast Slayer course will has all of our content broken down into really small consumable bites. If you scroll down here, you can see most of the videos are just about like 5 to 20 minutes long, and they cover everything on the 6th edition task list. There are also quizzes after most of the videos to get you to test your skills on them. And then the videos themselves have interactive elements in them. So they'll have questions and active student responding opportunities to keep you engaged throughout. And you can click on the answers and it'll give you some feedback there as well. And I'll vocally review the feedback for you in those after. So really great course. Lots of students are passing with the Beast Slayer course. Highly recommended, especially if you kind of feel lost or if you feel like a lot of like behavioral concepts are a bit disconnected. We've also got full-length mocks. We have our mini mock package, which contains our most difficult questions and 25 question mocks that are broken up by section. And then our fluency package, which contains a lot of easier quizzes for you to kind of just study on the go. All of these things are available on the Understanding Behavior app as well. So if you're on Apple or Android, you can go ahead and download that and access all of our products there as well. And if this is your first time at one of our streams, you'll quickly learn that we like to do some giveaways during our streams as well. So usually the triggers for those giveaways is if we get lots of likes on the like counter for this video. So that's hitting that thumbs up button. If we meet certain marks for our like counter, we'll do some giveaways. We might do multiple giveaways depending if we get lots of likes on the like counter. And if we get a ton of them, if we meet our magic numbers, we might even give something something big away, such as like the Super Ultimate Mock Bundle, which comes with all 3 of our full-length mocks and our mini mocks. So go ahead and hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, and we'll get grooving. Yeah, for tutoring right now, Crystal is out of town this week, so she's currently sold out for tutoring. Molly is picking up a little bit more tutoring right now, so if you're interested in some one-on-one tutoring, she's an amazing resource. I would highly recommend tutoring sessions with Molly. Crystal will be back next week as well, so you can sign up with her next week when she gets back from her vacation. She's having a great time right now. Love it. Also, we've got Jennifer Kim, first time here. Welcome, welcome. Anybody have their test coming up soon? I'm always curious, like when you guys are testing and coming up. Leslie says yes. We've got Julie on September 26th. Awesome. Cool. Selena, welcome. First timer. Julie Byram testing next week on the 15th. Good luck. Megan, 3 weeks out. We've got a lot of September dates. Awesome. Well, you guys are in the right place for studying. Nice. Cambry, August 21st. I bet I'd put money on Camry passing. She's been killing it in these sessions. Courtney, August 26th. Alyssa on the 16th. Love it. Nice. Taylor next week. Awesome. Well, good luck, everybody, and make sure to keep that studying momentum high. And luckily, you're in a good place for that because you know, our sessions like to be fun. So we'll give you the most engaging content that I can offer for you guys. So with that note, let's get into our content for the evening. Again, we're talking about Nick, differential reinforcement. My name is Nick, and this is the Understanding Behavior live stream. Let's do it. Here is our agenda for tonight. So first we'll talk about what is differential reinforcement on a broader scope. We'll talk about DRA and DRI. With that, we're also going to talk about DRA without extinction, which tends to get a little bit overlooked. Then we'll contrast DRA and FCT, which stands for Functional Communication Training. Then we'll get into DRO. We'll talk about why DRO isn't actually reinforcement at all, which is pretty crazy. And then we'll talk about our DRO subtypes. Then we'll get into DRL. We'll compare and contrast DRL versus DRD and talk about the DRL subtypes. Then we'll talk about DRH and some subtypes, and then we'll do a quiz at the end. I think we've got a quiz somewhere mixed in here too, so we'll keep it active and fun and engaging for y'all. All right, well, let's do it. So differential reinforcement is a combination of two different procedures. I want to see, do you guys know what are those two different procedures that make up differential reinforcement? And I'll give you a clue. One of them is in the name. What do you guys think? So what are the two procedures that make up differential reinforcement? Cool, yeah, I like where we're going. Yeah, Barbara, Samantha on the right track. Danielle, Jackie, Julie, good. Good, yeah, Annie Leva, looking great. Sharonda, there you go. Awesome. Yeah, you guys are killing this. So here's a definition that I like, but you guys are right on track. The two procedures are a combination of reinforcement and extinction. Here's a definition that I really like for differential reinforcement, though. It's shifting reinforcement from one response class to another response class. So really simple. Again, this is usually a combination of reinforcement and extinction, but what we will talk about is that it doesn't always involve pure extinction. So sometimes this extinction element is just using lesser reinforcement, and we'll talk about some examples of that in a little bit. That's why I really like this definition as well, is that it kind of captures both of those things. So we're like shifting reinforcement from one thing to another thing. Yeah. So let's first talk about DRA, which stands for differential reinforcement of alternative behavior. In DRA, the main thing is that we're going to be teaching a new behavior, it might not be like a brand new behavior, but we're kind of establishing a behavior that is not like very present in their repertoire right now. Most often, this is going to be a functional replacement behavior. So I want to see what is a functional replacement behavior, and I want you to define this without using the word function. So that's your challenge in chat right now is again, what is a functional replacement behavior? And the challenge is to not use the word function in your explanation. Dang, Barbara is fast and killing these tonight. Awesome. Yeah, Cambria, I like where you're going there. Yeah, Samantha, that's great. I love there's like a good variety of different ways to explain this. You're getting it in your own words. That's amazing. Yeah, Amy Rankle, that looks great. Okay, Courtney, on the right track. Yeah, Danielle, I like where you're going. Ooh, Casey, which one? Input or output? Okay, yeah, Shantae on the right track. I like that. Good. So yeah, generally when we're talking about functional replacement behaviors, we're talking about behaviors that result in the same consequence or have the same kind of reinforcer. So for example here, if we have the child screaming previously resulted in attention, then what we would do for DRA is that we're going to teach a new behavior that results in attention. So for example, we might teach raising their hand. In this example, we're using reinforcement in extinction. So for the behavior that we want to decrease, we're putting it on extinction. So we have the child has no attention, they scream, and they still have no attention. So there's none of that reinforcer that's coming after this behavior. And then we'll teach our new behavior. So we're shifting our reinforcement from screaming over to raising hand now. So now the child has no attention, they raise their hand, and now the child has attention. So we're using that same functional reinforcer, and that's how DRA is going to be most effective when we teach a behavior that results in the same reinforcer as the problem behavior or behavior that we're trying to decrease. Good. One more way that we can do DRA, and this is a little bit less common and often doesn't, we often don't use it very much, but it does work, is that you could have a replacement behavior that results in a more powerful reinforcer. So for example, if we had like attention maintained screaming, we could teach them to like request for their iPad, which would get them to receive their iPad. And if that iPad is a stronger reinforcer than the attention, then the DRA is still going to work. So I know like there's big movements and for good reasons to like decrease screen time. So using like a really powerful reinforcer like that might not always be the most beneficial, and it doesn't necessarily like tell them to like how to gain the thing that they're actually seeking in that moment. But it would be a form of DRA that would work, is to use a more powerful reinforcer instead of a functionally replacement behavior. Good. All right, let's talk about the difference of DRA with and without extinction. So our example here, we had DRA with extinction, where we purely don't provide any attention for screaming, but we're only going to provide the attention for this new response. Our research is actually showing that DRA without extinction tends to be a little bit more effective and is certainly a lot more socially valid. So with extinction is pretty common, but it's not necessarily a good procedure or the best way to do something. Sometimes pure extinction is necessary, but in a lot of situations it's not. And here's how we would do DRA without extinction. So instead of just having like reinforcement versus no reinforcement, what we're going to do is we're going to have high quality, lots of reinforcement versus little lower quality reinforcement for our problem behavior or behavior reduction target. So if we look at our diagram now, we have the child has no attention. If they raise their hand, they're going to receive a lot of attention. It's going to be very high quality attention. But if the child screams, it's not that we're going to completely ignore them, but we might just maybe like remind them about what's going on, or like how they're going to get their get quality attention. And instead of just completely ignoring them, which can be a little bit traumatizing, especially if we're working with young children, then just providing this little bits of attention or low quality attention is going to be a more preferred way to do DRA. So here are some of those benefits of doing DRA without extinction. The most important is that we're going to get better social validity out of it. So social validity, I'm going to throw this one at you guys. What do you think about with social validity? When you hear that term social validity, what does that mean? I feel like this term kind of gets lost sometime. You're like acceptance of the behavior. Okay, relevant. What else? Okay, so something socially valid if it improves their everyday life. Okay. Nice. I like detail that Amy has here. So like the family or stakeholders would appreciate or approve of the procedure. Good. We have like a behavior that's appropriate to society. Okay. Yeah, so I see a lot of these definitions are about like what behavior that we're choosing, but does social validity refer to like what methods that we're using too? Yeah, like what Leslie has here. So like it's also like acceptance and efficient behavior changes. Good. That's good details to have. Awesome. Yeah, I'm liking these. Really good, really good. So essentially, social validity can be defined as having the procedures, goals, and results of our interventions be socially acceptable to the behavior analyst, client, and society. So there's lots of different components there. It's not just the goals that we're choosing, it's also the methods that we're changing behavior with. So those procedures are really important. And we want to make sure that they're valid to the behavior analyst who's doing it, and obviously other behavior analysts. Our client, so that's going to include our the individual that we're working with, as well as any important stakeholders. And society as a whole. So, like society as a whole, like doesn't usually like approve of these just like straight ignoring procedures. And again, like the client often doesn't approve of these straight ignoring procedures either. And you can kind of tell, but just in seeing like what their reactions are to this. Like if they're asking you like, why are you ignoring me? And you're just completely ignoring them and like anything on that front. Then that might not be the most socially valid way to go about things. So if we use this lesser reinforcement, we might like remind them and be like, hey, like once you calm down, then we can like, then I can answer or whatever you need. Or something like that. And that is going to encourage that more appropriate behavior as well, just by shifting instead of doing pure reinforcement extinction. So good. Lots of great answers there. I love how you guys are thinking about this. In addition, like this DRA without extinction is a lot more natural. So it's going to be, it kind of ties into this social validity component, but it's going to feel more natural for parents because, you know, if their child is screaming, like it's a parent's instinct to respond to them. It means like they're under some kind of distress. So it's very natural for them to respond to them in some way. We just need to find a way that's also going to be effective in reducing this behavior. This can also reduce power struggles. So again, if you're straight ignoring a client, it's kind of like a battle of wills almost, where it's like who can outlast the other one. So it's like, how can this kid scream longer than the adult wait out? And those power struggles again are can lose a lot of social validity with our intervention, and also like kind of create a traumatizing experience for your client as well. So avoid those power struggles whenever possible, and DRA without extinction will help you do that. In addition, this also allows you to add more clarity for your client. So like in this low quality attention, you might be stating every once in a while, do something like, hey, like once we calm down, then we can like play a game, or we can like choose a new activity to do, or something like that. Cool. Yeah, Lisa, absolutely. More acceptable to the team as well, for sure. Good, good, good. So yeah, if you find yourself like overly using extinction, think about the possibility of doing DRA without extinction and see how it goes, because oftentimes the research is showing that it works better, and there are a lot of clear reasons about why it would work better as well. Cool beans. Looks good here. Let's also talk about DRI, which stands for differential reinforcement of incompatible behavior. So very similar to DRA, and it's actually just a subtype of DRA. So if we have like a little branch, we have like DRA at the top, then we have like DRA with extinction, DRA without extinction, and then DRI would be another subtype. So lots of similarities here. Again, we're going to be teaching a new response, or maybe it's just a response that they don't normally engage in that situation. And this term incompatible, what that means is that the behaviors cannot physically occur at the same time. So here's our example that we have. We have a child has no attention. Our problem behavior is that the child pinches a classmate, and we have that they would receive attention from that. So to do our extinction or reduce reinforcement, we would want to minimize the attention that they would get from that. Not something we always have in control of, because the classmate's probably going to react in some way. And instead, we would teach them a behavior that they physically cannot do at the same time as pinching the classmate. So maybe they have to carry like a really heavy box, and then we'll provide that same functional reinforcer for this behavior. So we're also going to provide attention. So very similar to DRA, and just like DRA, most of the time we want to teach a functional replacement behavior, or at least like provide that same consequence, or that same reinforcing consequence for this behavior. But the key identifying feature of DRI is that the behaviors physically cannot occur at the same time. So they can't carry this really heavy box and pinch their classmate at the same time, so those behaviors would be incompatible. Cool, cool? All right, let's look at a few different sets of behaviors, and we'll go pretty fast on these, but I want you to tell me, are these behaviors incompatible or not? Our first one, we've got sitting in a chair versus standing up in class. Are these behaviors incompatible? Yes or no? Again, we'll go pretty fast on these. Awesome. Yeah, these are looking great. Good, good, good. I like that name, Sly Cheeseburgers. That's great. What is a sly cheeseburger? It's like a really sneaky cheeseburger. All right, good. Yeah, these are looking great, crew. So yes, these behaviors are incompatible. They cannot, you can't stand up and sit down at the same time. Good. All right, how about this next one? Doing homework versus watching TV. Are these behaviors incompatible? Yes or no? Good. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Looking great here, crew. Yeah, so these behaviors would not be incompatible. They could occur at the same time. I mean, you're probably not going to get the most quality experience out of either of them, but they could occur at the same time, so they're not incompatible. Cool. How about this next one? We've got playing Xbox versus lifting dumbbells. Are these incompatible? Yes or no? What do you guys think? Yeah, to do a test on these too, like you can kind of just like simulate doing the two behaviors. Like, can I do these at the same time? All right, clearly Danielle is not a gamer. Oh, never mind. I misread your thing. You're great. Never mind. Nice. We got Stony PA boxing here. Yeah, absolutely. Totally. So, yeah, this behavior, or sorry, these behaviors would be incompatible with each other. So you need two hands to play your Xbox well. The one hand's not going to really do it. And lifting dumbbells is going to require at least one of your hands. I guess if you're like lifting with your feet, maybe, but you know, let's not add too much information here. So, looks great, everyone. Nice job. All right, how about this next one? We've got listening in class versus texting in class. Are these incompatible? Yes or no? Cool, you guys are on the right track here. Yeah, Courtney texting under her desk in high school for sure. So yeah, these behaviors would not be incompatible. So you technically could listen and text in class at the same time. Again, quality is going to go down for both of these, but it is possible, meaning that they're not incompatible. Good. All right, how about this last one? We've got hands in pockets versus grabbing breakable items with our hands. Are these incompatible? Yes or no? Hannah says she can listen to Nick while texting her friends. There's no texting in class, Hannah. No, just kidding. Live your life. Tell your friends how cool the bearded dude talking about behavior analysis is. That's the only acceptable text here. No, just kidding. All right, looks great here, crew. This one is going to be, yes, these are incompatible with each other. So you can't grab something if your hands are in your pocket. So it would be a good incompatible behavior here. Sweet. Looks good here. Here's some other considerations to have while you're doing DRA and DRI. So we just kind of went over the basics, but here's a little bit more of those details. A lot of people ask me about like how do you get good at section H, and which is selecting interventions, and really like one of the core things is to get good at section G. So like you need to know like the ins and outs of these procedures to know like which one to use in any given situation. So here are just some of like those extra things to think about while you're doing DRA and DRI. First of all, you need to think about the learner's repertoire. So when we're choosing our replacement behaviors, it's got to be something they're going to pick up on pretty easily. If you make the replacement behavior very effortful, then it's not going to click very fast. Which gets into this next point is response effort. So what we want to think about is like we want to make it so the behavior reduction target, it becomes more effortful for a lower quality reinforcer. And we want our replacement behavior to be really easy to get a really high quality reinforcer. So that's how DRA is going to work really well, is that we have those big differences here. So it's really difficult to get this really shitty reinforcer with the behavior reduction target, but it's really easy to get a really high quality reinforcer with our replacement behavior. If you have those things set, then DRA is going to work really well. Next thing we want to consider is naturally occurring reinforcement. So think about, is this reinforcement going to occur naturally for this behavior in their normal environments? If somebody's like not going to recognize the replacement behavior and know how to respond to it, then it might not be the best replacement behavior. So think about just the naturally occurring environment. Is the reinforcer going to be naturally delivered by people that may be unfamiliar with the protocol? Or is it going to be really easily transferred to settings where this behavior is relevant? Sweet, sweet, sweet. Also think about basic reinforcement principles. So reinforcement is most effective when we're providing powerful and immediate consequences. So if they engage in that replacement behavior, you got to be on it. You got to deliver that reinforcer right away, preferably in less than a second. And again, make sure that the reinforcer that you're using is very powerful to make the most out of that reinforcement. We also need to withhold the reinforcement for the problem behavior. So if we only increase the reinforcement for the replacement behavior, but we still have reinforcement for the behavior reduction target as well, then usually what's going to happen is that the individual is going to engage in both. So we do need to still withhold some of that reinforcement for the behavior reduction target. Otherwise, we're not going to see that clear shift in the behavior. We might see both behaviors occur at equal levels. So withholding that reinforcement for the behavior reduction target is still really important. Otherwise, DRA is not going to work as well. And again, think about like how you're going to do that as well. If you're going to be using pure extinction versus lesser reinforcement, and what would that lesser reinforcement look like? Again, DRA without extinction, there's some really good data coming out for this procedure, so I encourage you to explore it, especially if you haven't had much experience using like the lesser reinforcement before. Cool, cool, cool. Lastly, we'll talk about with DRA as a quick compare and contrast with DRA and FCT. So we talked about DRA. This is a very basic procedure. So again, we're providing more reinforcement for one behavior and less reinforcement for another behavior. DRA can occur naturally or it can be contrived. So like if we're programming it, then that's going to be a more contrived situation. But think about just like DRA in like the natural environment as well. So for example, like if I'm like really nice to the person who's scooping me ice cream, and that's resulted in more ice cream, or like a bigger scoop of ice cream, then that would be a more naturally occurring thing. Where it's like if I don't give like compliments, or I'm like not as nice, and I might not get like that extra like bonus scoop or like a bigger scoop. So that could be really natural DRA that would happen in the environment. Also, think about even just like different behaviors like pushing your gas pedal. So it's like if you push it a little bit, then you only go a little bit fast. But if you push it a lot of bit, then you go really fast. So depending on like what kind of driving situation you're in, like one of those might be more reinforcing in any given moment. So we have like that reinforcement and lesser reinforcement. Like if you're on the highway, like you're usually not just like tapping your gas pedal. Like you got to push on a decent amount to get the speed that you need for that. Where if you only press it a little bit, you don't quite get the speed that you need to keep up on the freeway. When we're talking about FCT, a few key differences here. Is that this is a more manualized procedure with really clear steps. So again, like DRA occurs all the time in pretty much every moment of every day for every individual. But FCT is something that is very clearly planned and like has these clear steps of phasing in different parts of the procedure. Again, it's explicitly planned or implemented, so it can't really occur in natural situations. We really need to plan this out. And FCT also includes teaching stimulus discrimination for the response. So DRA is usually just teaching like, hey, let's get this appropriate response to occur a bit more. But FCT is going to have stimulus discrimination for that later on. So, for example, like we might have like a green card, red card to signal like whether or not asking for a break is available in any given moment. Yeah, cool. Yeah, Alyssa's right on that. Stole the words out of my mouth for sure. And the two variations of that with FCT are chained and multiple schedule variations. So we talk about that more in the Beast Slayer course. I don't think I talk about that in any of my other streams, but if you want to get like the real nitty gritty about how FCT works with chained and multiple schedules, working with those compound schedules, there is good detail in the Beast Slayer course. If you dig really far back on my YouTube, there's also a video where I do FCT with my dog and I talk about the chain and multiple schedule variation. So if you're feeling like, oh, I want to dig for that, then be my guest. It'll be fun. My dog's really cute too, so that helps. All right, that is going to be all for DRA. How are we feeling with DRA and DRI? Do you guys have any questions about those before we move on to DRO? So DRO is the crazy one. Like, it seems simple, but it's crazy. I'm telling you. Sweet, you guys are feeling good? Sweet, sweet, sweet. Cool, I'm feeling good too. Yeah, these are pretty straightforward once you kind of get used to it. Something that we use very frequently. But yeah, I challenge you to kind of like look into your natural environment and think about differential reinforcement. Like, what responses are getting more reinforcement than others, and like kind of like understand that reinforcement and see how those behaviors shift. So real life examples are always the coolest. All right, let's talk about DRO. So here is the thing with DRO is like, is DRO even reinforcement? And spoiler alert, it's not. So why do we call this differential reinforcement when it's not even reinforcement? You know, it beats me. I feel like maybe it's just because like it's better to use a fluffier term. But technically DRO does not involve any reinforcement at all. So let's talk about why that is. So when we talk about differential reinforcement of other behavior fails the dead man's test. So like for example, if I say like, hey, if you do anything other than hitting, then dead men are really good at that. They're really good at like doing things other than hitting. So it's just essentially like not hitting you. So essentially like the way that a DRO procedure works is that we provide a reinforcer if the behavior does not occur after a period of time. So again, dead men are really good at not engaging in particular behaviors. They're really good at not hitting you. Like they're pros. They've done it like their whole non-lives. Since the reinforcer delivery is actually based off of time alone, then this is not considered a behavior, and that means it's not reinforcement. So when we talk about reinforcement is a relationship between a behavior and a consequence. But this is not a relationship between a behavior and a consequence. This is a relationship between time passing and a consequence. So there is no reinforcement in DRO. So again, the reinforcer is not produced by a behavior. Now, this procedure is actually more akin to punishment. So what happens is that when we have a contingency that fails the dead man's test, what we need to do is flip the dead man over. So instead of analyzing not hitting, which is not a behavior, we need to analyze what happens if they actually hit you. So let's go to our diagram and check this out real quick. So here's our contingency. In our antecedent, if the individual does absolutely nothing, they're going to receive an M&M soon. So if time passes without hitting, which is, again, not a behavior, then they're going to receive that M&M. But if they do hit the individual, so looking at the actual behavior, the consequence is that that M&M is no longer incoming. So it was incoming in our antecedent, but they engage in the behavior and now it's no longer incoming. So instead of calling this differential reinforcement of other behavior, which is a really inaccurate way to describe what we're doing here, here's the better way to describe this contingency, is that it is a punishment by prevention of a reinforcer contingency. So again, here's our contingency. We've got an M&M is incoming. If they engage in the behavior, now the M&M is not incoming. So it's punished by preventing the reinforcer that would have came if they did absolutely nothing. So yeah, let me just catch up in chat here. Awesome. Yeah, Barbara, I'm glad that it is starting to make some sense here. Yeah, so yeah, we have some questions about like when you would use DRO. So what's nice about DRO is that it's a fairly mild punishment procedure, and usually like we don't need to go through like the ethical like necessities of normal punishment procedures. And I think the way that it kind of gets away with that is that like we're adding new reinforcers to the environment. But the thing is that your clients are going to feel this like a punishment procedure as well. Like I used to work at an alternative school where like we had a token economy on a DRO protocol. So it was like every 15 minutes that they went with like out engaging in one of their target behaviors, then they would get like a point or a sticker that they could use to exchange at the school store. And like if one of my clients ended up going like breaking that and like not receiving their school score points, like it was really traumatic for them. So you could definitely feel like how it was functioning like a punishment procedure, and the reason is because it is a punishment procedure. So DRO, it's a mild punishment procedure. Sometimes it's best used in like combinations with other treatments. Let's say like your DRA isn't working very well, and like you've already like checked all your boxes where like it should be working, but it's just not quite. You could add a DRO as well to have like an additional reduction effect on that target behavior. And again, another thing that's nice about DRO is that it's really easy to implement. So if you have like a longer period of time for your DRO procedure, like the individual, like the implementer only has to do like one thing every couple minutes then. So yeah, if you're using a DRO, it is a reduction strategy, so we have an ethical obligation to also teach like a replacement behavior if we're using DRO. But yeah, it's often used in like combination treatments and to kind of just like add another element to reduce the target behavior faster. Yeah, we have a question. Can this be used in a reinforcing frame? No, it's not reinforcement. Straight up not reinforcement. So if we were to like reinforce safe behaviors instead of like our target behaviors, then we're doing a DRA. We're not doing a DRO. Yeah, I think we get into the timing stuff in just a sec too. So there's two different subtypes of DRO. Yeah, a lot of people don't quite get this analysis of like seeing a DRO as a punishment procedure. Honestly, it's not technically on the exam. I doubt they're gonna test you on this, but I think it is important to know like the actual analysis. And again, we're not reinforcing other behavior because that explanation fails the dead man's test. So this is the most accurate way to look at it is it's called a punishment by prevention of a reinforcer contingency. And when you're using it with your clients, they'll feel it like a punishment procedure as well, because it is. Yeah, so Danielle's saying like she was always taught it was like reinforcing any behavior other than the target behavior, and that's an inaccurate way to look at it because the reinforcement is not contingent on it. So it's like, okay, well technically they're breathing, like should I reinforce breathing? And no, you're not like immediately providing a reinforcer for breathing. The reinforcer delivery again is time based, so it's not contingent on a behavior. It's just time passing without the behavior. So if we want to get the right contingency here, we need to flip the dead man over. What happens when they actually engage in the behavior? And the answer is that it prevents the reinforcer from coming that was already incoming in the antecedent. Yeah, I have a question. Will the exam trick us in the sense of looking at DRO as a reinforcement procedure? I don't think they'll like have a question like that. Like is DRO a reinforcement procedure? Like yes, no, maybe. Like they're not gonna have a question like that. They're gonna ask you more about like applications of it. So I wouldn't worry about it. But it's important to I think it's important to know like the proper way to analyze it using our correct terminology. All right. I told you DRO is a doozy. I love all the questions. I love all the like extra thoughts and some minds being blown here. That's why we're here, get you the most accurate information at understanding behavior. So I'm glad you guys are here to pick up on that. DR, no behavior occurring. Interesting. All right. Well, let's talk about the different subtypes of DRO. So we've got two different subtypes. We've got interval DRO. This is the most common. So for interval DRO, if the behavior doesn't occur for the entire interval, then they're going to receive that reinforcer. It's actually not reinforcement. It's reinforcer delivery because, again, it's not contingent on a behavior. So this is what we have here is like if we have like let's say 2-minute interval and they don't hit for that 2 minutes, then they're going to receive the M&M. So what happens if the behavior does occur is that we're going to reset that timer. So let's say like we're 90 seconds in and then they hit their peer. Now we're going to reset that 2-minute timer from that moment, and they need to go a whole 2 minutes now before they'll receive that M&M and obviously not engage in that target behavior. With interval DRO, this requires a little bit more constant observation, is a little bit stricter than our other subtype. This is because we're observing them the whole time. All right, Suzette, see you next time. Thanks for coming tonight. So interval DRO requires constant observation. It's a little bit stricter since we're observing that whole time and we're having this contingency in place for that whole entire interval. Our other subtype is momentary DRO. So this is when we provide the reinforcer if the behavior is not occurring at the end moment of the interval. So this is very similar to momentary time sampling, but with a contingency added to it. So for example, like we would have the 2-minute interval still. And now instead of looking at like if hitting occurred during that entire interval, we would just look at that end moment, like at the end of that 2 minutes, are they hitting somebody? If they're not hitting somebody, then they're going to get the reinforcer. If they are hitting somebody, then they're not going to receive the reinforcer. So if the behavior occurs during the interval, there's no effect at all. We're only concerned with that end moment. Advantages of this is that it requires only occasional observation, so it's even easier to implement than our interval DRO. But with that, it becomes a little bit looser. So it may not be quite as effective as if we're doing interval DRO. I thought I had some points in here as well about like how to set that interval. Who knows? I'm gonna throw this question. You might know the answer to this, especially if you've been to our measurement live stream. But what measurement is going to be most important for determining what our DRO interval is? Anybody want to go for that in chat? Again, the question is, what measurement is going to be most important to set our DRO interval? Oh, nice. We got some smarties here. Yeah, Shantae, Stephanie, Danielle, good. Whale, Jackie, awesome. Good, good, good. All right, bonus question here. So the answer is IRT. How are we going to use IRT to set our DRO interval? So if we want to set our very first DRO interval, how do I use IRT to set that? Who wants to go for that one? A little bit. You guys got my question too easily, so we got to amp it up a little bit. Nice. Yes, great answers here. Good job, Danielle, Julie, Stephanie, Amy. Yeah, Lilo, that looks great. Yes, Cambry, good. There you go, Addie. Awesome, I love this. Love it, love it, love it. Great answers coming out. So what we're going to do is we want to calculate that average IRT. So we'll get all of our IRTs and get the mean of those. So let's say our average IRT is 5 minutes. What we want to do is we want to undercut our DRO interval, our first DRO interval, to be a little bit less than that average IRT. So, for example, we might make our average IRT 4 minutes, or sorry, we might make our DRO 4 minutes when we have an average IRT of 5 minutes. So the thought behind that is that we want to cut it a little bit lower, so they are likely to contact the reinforcer before they're likely to engage in the behavior. So that's kind of like the logic behind undercutting that a little bit. Awesome. Really great explanations in chat. You guys are on fire. Good job. Good job. Oh, I did have it. I'm so silly. I did have these on my slide. So to set the intervals, again, we're basing it off of our average IRT. And then we want to undercut it at first. So, and then we'll gradually increase that time. So once we've mastered the 4 minute phase, then we might move it back to 5 minutes and 6 minutes and 7 minutes and beyond. Good. All right, we've got a question here at Alphine saying, this might be a weird question. I know DRO focuses on absence of behaviors. Is it the only DR that focuses on time? For example, kid does not engage in tantrum for 2 minutes. DRA and DRI are not concerned with time in that way. DRO is concerned with time in that way, but also DRL and DRH are concerned with time in that way as well, and we'll talk about those in just a sec. All right, well, you guys are on fire. I love all of the great questions coming out. Why don't we break this up with a giveaway? We've also got 61 likes on this stream. That's pretty good for 90 of you here. So well, let's go ahead and do a giveaway. We'll make this giveaway. You can choose any, whoever wins can choose their choice of any of the Beat the Beast mocks, or they can get the fluency package. So what we'll do is a random number giveaway, and there's still opportunities for more giveaways and maybe higher quality giveaways. So make sure you guys are hitting that like button as well. If you haven't yet, it's that little thumbs up right next to subscribe. And yeah, so again, winner of this can get their choice of any of the Beat the Beast mocks or the fluency question package. We'll do a random number 1 to 500, and closest number is going to win. 1 guess per person. Let's see those numbers. You can drop them in whenever. We'll see, Danielle. Good luck. Good luck, everybody here. Oh my god, we just got to 69 likes. No more likes, guys. 69 is perfect. No, I'm just kidding. You can get more if you want. Awesome. We've got lots of guesses coming in. We'll give you like 15, 20 more seconds. Okay, Sada's changing her number. So there's a duplicate guess. All right, no more number changes. We'll do a roll off if we get the same number. All right, we're going to make Gus Goldring our last guess here. Here we go. Who's going to be it? We've got 351. All right, we've got Camilla at 345. That's pretty close. Help me out trying to find our winner here, chat. 351. Camilla at 345 looks pretty promising. Oh, we've got Siobhan at 357. They're both 6 away. Oh my gosh. Is anybody closer than that? Oh man. 351. Okay, so we had Camilla 345, and then Siobhan was 357, so they're both 6 away. I don't think there's anybody closer. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna have 2 winners tonight. So congrats to Camilla and Siobhan. You guys both won a your choice of mock exam tonight. So congratulations to claim your prize. So shoot me an email at understandingbehaviorofficial@gmail.com and we'll hook you up. Just let us know which product you want. So again, you can get any of the Beat the Beast mocks, or you can get our fluency question package. So congrats to Camilla and Siobhan. Woo, 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 woo. That's exciting. That we had two different winners on either side of the roll. That doesn't happen very often, but cool stuff. Congratulations, you two. All right. Well, don't slow down on that like counter, and we might do another giveaway later on. We'll see. If you guys if the like counter is looking good, and you guys are still participating as well as you have been, then we'll probably do another one. Okay. Next up, we're gonna move into DRL. So, DRL stands for differential reinforcement of lower rates. So this is like DRO is the only one that's not really a reinforcement procedure. This one is a reinforcement procedure as well. Let's quickly go through this diagram, this diagram on the right here, and then we'll talk about the different subtypes. So sorry, just totally distracted here. Our antecedent here is our child has no break. In our reinforcement condition, we've got the child asks for a break after 5 minutes since their last request, and then the child receives a break. And our extinction procedure, we've got the child asks for a break within 5 minutes from their last request, and the child has no break. So this is going to be our space responding DRL. So what this does is that we reinforce a behavior when it occurs after a set period of time. So we set our period of time to be 5 minutes. So we want at least an IRT of 5 minutes. And if it's been more than 5 minutes, then we will reinforce that response. But if it's been less than 5 minutes, so they're responding too quickly, then we will not reinforce that response. So this is our space responding subtype of DRL that we have diagrammed here. Okay, so we have some examples of each different subtype. So, and we've got our definitions here as well. So the space responding one we just went over. So this would be when we reinforce asking for a break if it's been at least 5 minutes since their last request. Again, this we're using breaks for this example, but this could be done for any behavior that's happening too much. Typically, for DRL, we're going to use this for behaviors that are happening really frequently And we don't want to eliminate them, but we want to reduce the rate that they're occurring. So to do that, we're providing reinforcement for this behavior, but we're doing it less frequently. So essentially that's what DRL is that we're still reinforcing the behavior, but we're doing it less frequently, and we have some systematic ways to do it. So space responding is when we base that reinforcement criteria off of the IRT. So if it's a shorter IRT, then they're not going to receive that reinforcer. But if it's a longer IRT, then we will reinforce that behavior. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so these are just examples. We can the procedures are flexible to be used for many different kinds of behaviors. So that's our space responding DRL. Let's go ahead and look at our next different subtype. So this is our interval DRL. In interval DRL, we're going to provide a reinforcer for an interval where the behavior occurred at or less than the criteria. So for example, we might have like 5-minute intervals, and we might only want to see let's look at this example. Sorry. We've got provide a reinforcer for each 10 minutes that he requests for a break 2 or fewer times. So they would get an extra reinforcer if that 10-minute block, they only engage in 2 or fewer requests for breaks. If they engage in 3 requests for breaks, then they would not receive a reinforcer for that interval. So we can split that up and set the criteria for each interval, and then there's a reinforcement opportunity in each interval. If we wanted to fade out our interval DRL, there's actually 2 different ways to do this. So the first way is that we could reduce the response requirement. So instead of making it 2 requests in a 10-minute period, then we can make it 1 request in a 10-minute period. Another way that we could fade this out is by changing that interval duration. So we could make it 2 requests within a 15-minute period instead of 2 requests in a 10-minute period to help fade out that procedure as well. Usually fading out that interval duration is a little bit better because it provides a little bit more flexibility for your client. So like what if they actually did need that second break within like the 15-minute period? Now they can actually ask for it, rather than if we only did like the 1 break within the 15-minute period, then it's like, well, this is kind of like, it kind of sucks. I'll talk about DRD in just a sec. Our last subtype of DRL is full session DRL. So it's very similar to our interval DRL, but instead of having the reinforcement opportunity occur for each interval, there's essentially 1 reinforcement opportunity for the whole entire session. So if we were to use this same example for the full session, it might be provide a reinforcer if he asks for a break 12 or fewer times over the session. So he has that whole session now, and here's the criteria for the whole session, and there's just 1 opportunity for that reinforcement. Same way, so you can either reduce the requirement or you can increase that full session duration. Usually if you're using full session duration, like the full session is about the same time every time, so reducing that requirement is a little bit more commonly used. So let's go ahead and talk about DRL versus DRD. So DRL, again, stands for differential reinforcement of lower rates. DRD stands for differential reinforcement of diminishing rates. So they're pretty much the same thing, but there's 1 key difference. So we know our 3 different subtypes. We've got space responding, interval, and full session. Any of these terms can be described as DRL. So you see any of these, we can call it DRL. If it's space responding, then it can only be called DRL. Where if we have interval or full session DRL, then we can also call that DRD. So if you have a question that is describing either interval or full session DRL, and DRL and DRD are both answers, then you should select DRD because it's a little bit more specific. If it's describing space responding DRL, then this cannot be called DRD. It needs to be called DRL. So again, the rule here is that if it's space responding, it's always going to be DRL. If it's interval or full session DRL, then we should call it DRD. Is a little bit more accurate. But if you call it DRL, if you just call it interval DRL, like it means the exact same thing as interval DRD. Yeah, Barbara's asking, why is DRD not considered to be space responding? So DRD was like an additional term that was invented after DRL. And honestly, I'm just like mad at the person who did it. Like, I never even like bothered to look up the researcher who did it, but they just added this extra term to make things more confusing. And I don't think it's in a very useful way. They should have just called it interval and full session DRL and just like never invented this term DRD. I think it's pretty useless, to be honest. But that's Nick's take. But yeah, if you want to label these things accurately, this is how you do it. Again, any of these can be called DRL, but if it's interval or full session DRL, then we should probably call it DRD. It's a little bit more accurate. Cool. Yeah, Magdale was saying they were taught that DRD eliminates the behavior where DRL does not. That is inaccurate. All of these are subtypes of DRL, and all of them have the intention to decrease but not eliminate a response. Yeah, so you're taught some baloney there. Yeah, Carly's talking about like going to the bathroom, like requesting to go to the bathroom example. If they're doing it really frequently, then DRL or DRD might be a good option there. And yeah, you would kind of just have to like do an assessment to see like, hey, are they like not going very frequently, or maybe like they're requesting to the bathroom and then they like splash around in the bubbles in the sink and like have a lot of fun doing that, or you have to like kind of like do a little bit more of a functional assessment before we want to like eliminate, like target to reduce that behavior. You would only use a DRA if like we wanted to like break apart those functions. So if it's like, hey, they're having a lot of fun playing in the bubbles in the sink, then we might teach them a request to like play in the bubbles in the sink. That's different from a bathroom request with like an MO to go. So yeah, it kind of just depends on that situation, but those are some things to think about, like how you're going to approach that with an intervention. So yeah, momentary is not a DRL subtype. These are the 3 subtypes. DCO. Cool. All right. So yeah, how are we feeling on these DRL and DRD? Again, a lot of places are going to teach you DRD incorrectly, but this is the only rule that you need to know. I spent like months and months doing the research to like get this difference down between DRL and DRD so I could get it accurate for you guys. And this is literally the only difference, is that if it's space responding, you call it DRL. If it's the other two, then DRD is more accurate, but DRL is an adequate way to label it. So that's the good. That's all you need. All right. We've got DRL out of the way. We're going to wrap up with DRH, which is differential reinforcement of higher rates of behavior. So very similar to our DRL, we've got the same 3 subtypes. But in DRH, let's say we're doing DRH with a space responding. Are we going to want to try to increase or decrease that IRT? What do you guys think in chat? So again, the question here is, if we're doing space responding DRH, should we try to increase or decrease that IRT? Yeah, Julie, the DRD thing is just a memory thing. There's no good reason. The reason is just like historical research for why we have interval and full session called DRD. It's literally the only reason. Good. You guys are right on track here. So if we have space responding DRH, we're going to want to decrease that IRT over time. So if we have less time in between our instances, then we can fit more of them into a smaller block and increase that rate of behavior. So decreased IRT is going to be more instances of behavior, where if we have longer IRTs, that's going to be fewer instances of behavior. And that's what we would try to do in DRL. So with DRH, we have the same exact subtypes as DRL. There is no DRD equivalent for DRH. So luckily the researchers were like, whew, we don't need this because it's stupid. We're listening to Nick and we don't need it. Oftentimes DRH is used in a procedure called precision teaching. And this is, again, where we try to teach faster rates of accurate responding. So DRH, like we're working on getting faster rates of behavior, and it applies directly to this procedure, precision teaching. So here are our three subtypes. We've got space responding. This is when we have reinforcement for shorter IRTs. Remember, we have shorter IRTs. We have more instances of behavior. Longer IRTs means fewer instances of behavior. We also have interval DRH. So we're going to provide reinforcement for more responses within an interval. And then we have full session DRH, where we provide reinforcement for more responses within the entire session. We've got a diagram here. So in our antecedent, the child has no Snickers bar. The child completes 5 or more math problems in a minute, and then the child gets a Snickers. If the child completes less than 5 math problems in a minute, then the child has no Snickers. I want you to look at this example. Which subtype of DRH are we doing here? Ooh, what do you guys think? So again, the question is, check this example out. Which subtype of DRH are we doing here? All right, we're a little mixed here. We've got several people saying space. We've got several people saying interval. So all three of our subtypes have something to do with time. Intervals are units of time. Full sessions are units of time. IRTs are units of time. All right, let's go ahead and review this one. Best answer here is going to be interval. So we have this 1 minute interval here. So very short unit of time. And again, we want more than the criteria that within our interval, then they get a small Snickers bar. If they have less than the criteria within the interval, then they would not get that Snickers bar. It's a little unclear actually if this was interval or full session. Like, it would be interval if we had multiple minutes that were consecutive with each other. If we only had 1 minute here, then it would be full session. But not going to quiz you on that. I think it's like interval is definitely the more natural response here. Yeah, Carly was actually on that. She would say, I think we would need more information for a full session. Yeah, so this could be a full session, but again, we would just have to know a little bit more about the circumstances. But I think you guys were on the right track here. This definitely best resembles an interval schedule. Good. This one is not space responding because we're not looking at the IRT within for each instance of the behavior. So like space responding here would be like if they complete one within like 12 seconds from finishing the previous one. So that would be like 60 divided by 5 gets you 12 seconds. And there would be a reinforcement opportunity for each instance of the behavior, where this is like we have the reinforcement opportunity for this larger chunk of time. So that's why it's not space responding. I know we had a few answers for that. Cool, cool. Usually, honestly, like precision teaching is pretty much the only application that you'll see DRH. I think it's going to be like one of the lowest probability things that you'll see on your exam, but cool to know. And precision teaching technology is actually really fucking cool. If you're not familiar with the Morningside Academy out in Seattle, I want to say, you should definitely check out what they're doing. They use precision teaching to help typically developing elementary age kids with math and reading. And in one summer, I think they have a guarantee that their student is going to climb like 3 or 4 grades in either math and reading in one summer. And the reason that they're able to do that is all because of precision teaching technology. Really cool stuff. Another company that's doing that or something similar is called Fit Learning. So if you know anybody that has like kids that are behind in either like math or reading, you should check out Fit Learning. So yeah, the school that I'm talking about that kind of like really popularized this model, it's called Morningside Academy. And then Fit Learning, they have centers all over the country, and they're doing similar work with precision teaching to increase math and reading grade levels like really quickly. It's really cool. Julie's asking, what about DRD on a scale of 1 to 10? How likely will we see that on the test? I think that one is higher probability, to be honest. I would say maybe 6 or 7 as like pretty high probability. Or like DRH is probably like a 2. All right. That brings us to the end of our content. I've got a few practice questions for you guys, and then we'll wrap up the evening and we'll do another giveaway at the end too. We've got 87 people, 81 likes on the video. That's pretty freaking baller. So thanks to everybody who's participated in that, and appreciate all of your great discussion tonight and great questions. Let's wrap this up with a little quiz, and we'll do another giveaway before we wrap up. All right, first question here. Which of the following is not a consideration for DRA and DRI procedures? Let's see it. Yeah, also you guys are asking me about like probabilities of topics coming up on the real exam, and just recognize like I'm pulling these numbers out of my ass because I really only get like the reports from you guys. I haven't taken the BCBA exam in over 8 years. There's been 2 editions. I took it under the 4th edition. We're on the 6th edition now. So I just know the history from my students and what they report, but I don't get the most detailed, and yeah, I'm pulling these numbers out of my ass, so not real data. I have my favorite sticker on my water bottle is talk data to me. Then that piece of data is not real. It's totally out of my ass. All right, cool. I'm liking the answers here. Some great rationales coming through. We've got our typical rock stars here. Cambry, Amy. Samantha's been really consistent on rationales tonight, too. Stephanie, good. Looking great here, crew. All right, seems like you guys are nailing this one. Our answer is going to be D. So replacement behaviors must be high effort is not a consideration. We want them to be lower effort, so they're going to be more easily acquired. We want to make the problem behaviors higher effort. We want to make our replacement behaviors very low effort. Good. All right, check this one out. We've got Lita has a history of biting herself when it's time to put her tablet away. Sometimes she bites herself so hard that she draws blood. Her BCBA wants to implement a procedure to decrease Lita's self-injurious behavior. Which of the following procedures would not be an appropriate choice for the BCBA to implement? What do you think? Let's see those answers. Let's see those rationales. Let's wrap up tonight strongly. Good. Yeah, nice, Samantha. Yeah, nice, Amy. Addie on the right track. Good, Cambry. Yeah, nice, Courtney. Yeah, good, Siobhan. Yeah, Stephanie, Ruby, Ariel, Morgan. Awesome. You guys are killing it. Good. So best answer here is going to be B, DRL. So remember with DRL that we are actually intentionally reinforcing the behavior at certain times. So looking at this behavior, we're looking at SIB, and it's pretty serious because she's drawing blood, and that's not great. So this would not be a behavior that we want to eliminate. This would not be a behavior that we'd want to continue at all. So we would not want to reinforce it intentionally. We would not want to use DRL. But any of our other procedures would be good here. DRO would work towards a straight decrease. DRI would be a replacement and a decrease, as well as DRA. Good. Alrighty, let's check this next one out. We've got BCBA Jeremiah is taking baseline data on Derek's cursing behavior at school. We've got a few different IRTs here for you. For implementing an interval DRO, which of the following would be the best choice for an initial interval? What do you guys think? Get your calculators out if you need it. Let's see some answers. Nice. Samantha, killing these rationales tonight. Nice, Amy. Good math. Morgan as well. Good. Yeah, Sharonda. There you go, Amanda. Yeah, good, Siobhan. Good job, Katarzyna. Nice. You guys are killing it. Good job. Good math here too. I had to whip my calculator out for this. So what we had to do is we wanted to add all of our IRTs together. If we did that, we got 20.5, and then we had 5 different IRTs. So divided by 5, that gets us to 4.1 minutes. Then for setting our DRO interval, we want to undercut that slightly. 3.5 is the only answer that just undercuts that slightly. 1.5 is going to be a really big undercut. 4.5 and 6.5 are over. So that's going to make B our best answer here at 3.5. Good job here, crew. Yeah, Amanda's asking, do you get a calculator while you're taking your real exam? Yes, you do get a calculator. So totally fair game to use those while practicing. But yeah, there's a calculator like within the testing module. Awesome. We've got one more question for you. Let's check it out. Crystal has decided that she wants to decrease her caffeine consumption. She took baseline data across 3 days and found that she drank an average of 7 caffeinated drinks per day. She decided to implement a DRL procedure with herself and set an initial criteria for reinforcement, which was $5 added to her yarn shopping fund at 6 drinks per day. Each time that she stays at or below her goal for 3 days, she'll decrease the goal by 1 drink to a terminal goal of no more than 2 caffeinated drinks per day. What type of DRL procedure is Crystal using? What do you think? I know a lot of people taking this exam are not necessarily math people, so it's good that you have that right on your module. Good, like where we're going with these. Answers looking great. Love the rationales coming out too. Yeah, good, Christine. Good job, Julie. Loving it, both Julies. Yeah, Megan, that looks great. Good job, Tina. Oxus, so there could be a criteria for a different answer as well. Yeah, good job, Stephanie. Good rule outs there. Ariel, look at what the reinforcement is contingent on. No, Ariel, not necessarily. Just look at what the reinforcement's contingent on. For sure. Cool. I'm glad to see it. All right. Answer's looking really good on this one. I like it. Our best answer is going to be A, our full session DRL. Good job. So for these ones, our interval was essentially going to be the whole day. So we had our reinforcement was available for getting 6 drinks per day. So the per day is our like unit that we're looking at. That would be considered a full session, is like this full day, and it's contingent on a full day. We see that the criteria moves if she meets the goal for 3 days, but that's not necessarily the reinforcement. That's just kind of how she's changing the criterion within like the changing criterion design. But the question was asking about the DRL procedure, not what kind of experimental design she's using, so that's going to be incorrect. It's not interval because there is not a short period of time that we're looking at for each of these. And then it's not space responding because it's not the time in between each caffeinated drink. It's more about the daily goal. All right, well, that's going to bring us to the end. Thank you so much for coming tonight and for watching this amazing presentation. Hopefully you enjoyed it and learned a few different things. Definitely check out our shop if you want some really high quality products to study for this exam. You can also use this code UBNerd and it gets you 15% off any of our products except tutoring, including our complete beast mode bundle, which comes with all of our mock products, as well as our killer behavior beast slayer course that gives you everything you need to know to nail this exam down. So if you want to get a good discount on all of those things, definitely check out this discount code UBNerd. And look how much amazing content there is in this Beast Slayer course. It's literally everything you need to pass if you use and digest and soak in all of this material here. It'll get you confident with behavior analysis from a distant point of view and get you better at answering these questions and seeing what you need to know to respond. Like I mentioned, we'll do one more giveaway to wrap up the evening. So we'll do same kind of giveaway. We'll whoever wins this one will get their choice of any of the Beat the Beast mocks or our fluency question package. And we'll do another random number drawing. I'm feeling a little spicy. Let's make it 1 to 555. Yeah, Julie, we're doing another giveaway. I promise. Awesome. Yeah, Isamar, new follower here, but just recently purchased a Beast Slayer course. Yay, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're enjoying it so much so far, too. Welcome aboard. All right, let's see those numbers for this giveaway. Winner's going to win a Beat the Beast mock or our fluency question package. Closest number wins. We had 2 winners on our last one. 2 people were super close. 1 guess per person. Multiple guesses will be disqualified. All right, looking cool. DCO. Okay, yeah, you got 1 guess there. We see it. No worries. Yay, Ruby, I'm glad you found us too. Amanda, thanks so much for picking up the bundle. Hopefully you're enjoying it so far. All right, let's pull our number for our giveaway. Jonathan G is our last responder. Here we go. We've got 251. 251. Help me out here. Oh, I've seen. Oh, Jennifer Kim, 250. Oh, that's going to be pretty hard to beat. Anybody guess 251? Oh, man. Jennifer Kim, 250. That's got to be it. I'm just double checking here. Yeah, all right, Jennifer Kim, you're our winner tonight. Congratulations. To claim your prize, just shoot me an email at understandingbehaviorofficial@gmail.com. Yay, congratulations, Jennifer. Yeah, let us know which product you want and we'll get you hooked up. You can get any of the Beat the Beast mocks or the fluency question package. Up to you. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for the evening. Thanks again so much for coming tonight. Use this discount code if you want to get 15% off any of our products. We'll be back next week with another amazing stream, Thursday, 8 p.m., same time. I believe Crystal is back next week as well, so we'll have Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, free live opportunities for you guys to participate in. I hope to see you around there. I hope you have a lovely weekend. If you're testing soon, good luck. And yeah, have a great night. Have a great weekend. And I hope to see you around our community soon. Oh, yay, Jennifer, first time and she won a giveaway. That's exciting. Congratulations. Yeah, congratulations to all our winners tonight. Jennifer, Camilla, and Siobhan. Just shoot me an email and we'll get you hooked up with your free stuff. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great night and see you next time. Bye-bye.